Thank you, Jan, especially. I joined a wonderful team at dinner last night, and my heart was just racing, listening to some of the stories around the table from and around the world, and I think the opportunity for people to get together in this sort of forum is so important. But let me get, because I need the clicker. Clicker, sorry. I've got notes, because otherwise you'll be here for 3 weeks listening to me, because I just go all over the place. So excuse me, but I do need my notes. The Banksia Foundation. Look, thanks very much. I've had the privilege of heading up a foundation that conducts one of the longest running sustainability recognition programs in the world. It's in Australia, believe it or not, we're doing it there. It's been going for 31 years. I haven't been there for 31 years, I've only been there for 21 years, but that's a pretty good innings. I've so many inspirational people and projects to talk about, but instead of giving you case studies of each one of these, I'm going to attempt to present to you what I have learnt from these leaders, and also how you can tap into your life experiences, because I think life experiences are the essence of where people end up. And the other thing is to ensure that you keep energised and never give up, because that's my biggest thing in life. If I can just find that energy to keep going, I know that I can accomplish a lot of things. It's been interesting to venture back, because I'll do that. Just do it again. Yeah, this is my timeline. It's a bit, interesting. It's interesting really having a look at what's influenced my life. But a lot of people would say at my point in time, in life now, I know it all. I don't need to learn anymore. I've done it. I've had all the experiences. I know it all. But I'm so wrong, because every day for me is a new experience, a new learning, a new excitement. I feel that I've just begun my journey all over again. And again, last night was another of those experiences. But which version of the Grazyna or Graz as Australians, because Australians can't do the Grazyna. They have to shorten everything, so it's Grazyna van Egmond. So which model of the Grazyna van Egmond am I working on now? You might think that this is a bit trite and a bit corny, but I can tell you something. I've had so many influential factors in my life, so many experiences, so many successes, and so many failures. So many embarrassments. I can still remember that feeling of that red beetroot face every time, something goes wrong and you just think, oh my God, this is just the end of the world. But then on the other hand, so many euphoric moments that add up to who I am and what I am today. And I can tell you, I am always in the market to collect more and more input into what I'm striving to be tomorrow and the next day and the next day, because I think that's really important. Just a bit going on back on the timeline, oldest child of 2 amazing parents who lost everything in the Second World War, and they had a lot to lose. My father was from Poland, my mother from Lithuania, and they came to Australia as teenagers with their families. And they worked, as we say in Australia, their butts off. They worked and worked and worked to achieve everything that they'd lost. And this is where I get, as my husband says, I'm a bit of a workaholic, that I just never give up. But I think that was a huge influence in seeing 2 amazing people just striving continually, and that's sort of given me that push in life. I studied biological sciences and ended up working in a public hospital as a biochemist. By the way, I was pretty ordinary at studying sciences, but hey, here comes one of those major influences in my life. My grandmother was the cousin of Marie Curie Skłodowska, and I thought I would be another famous scientist. I wore the white coat very well, but that was it. I couldn't do anything else. So I put the lab coat away and jumped into public relations, as you do. Scientists one day, public relations the next. And I worked for Tourism Australia. Here I found absolute heaven. I adored this job. working in creating great experiences for journalists travelling around Australia so they could write some amazing stories for the rest of the world to come and have a great time with us. And we do have a great time. We know how to have a great time in Australia. I found my creative streak in this job, something I really enjoyed, and just really threw myself right into it. Also, there was a bit of the environmental streak coming through because I was travelling around all of Australia and just looking at this pristine environment that we have. It all sort of came back later, but I didn't realise how I appreciated it at the time and how we need to protect this beautiful country that we have. I started a number of national and international tourism events. People were amazed at how many events I was creating, but no, the word no was something that just wasn't in my vocabulary. And this is still my problem today. I still need to start to recognise that there is that word no, that you can't do everything. But everything seems so exciting. I get so enthralled with things. Someone comes and talks to me about something, I think, oh yes, I can do it, let's do that, or let's jump onto this, or let's create this. And the people that I've surrounded myself all my life have been able to help me do that. And I think that is so, so important. My husband and my two daughters are probably my biggest inspiration. I took a bit of time off to give birth, as you do, and to nurture. And that can be difficult for a woman, especially at the time that I was doing it. There were no support mechanisms at all in Australia. You just had to get on with it. And this was a time of life that responsibility really hit home. I really sort of had all these people that were dependent on me, and all of a sudden I'm going, wow, this carefree life that I had, all of a sudden, boom, here we go. And may I say, trying to be the best for everyone and being pulled in every direction was a real challenge. But like anything else, you find the way to get through it and you come out the other end a lot stronger. Then, working in a corporation at the time I did was a huge eye-opener. Again, a place where I struggled. I'm not a great political player. I'm really more into driving, creating and accomplishing things rather than playing the game. However, heading up small business development for a large telecommunications company in Australia was a great immersion into a sector that really interested me. The potential in small businesses driving future innovation and disruption was fascinating. The entrepreneurial spirit and individual passion was infectious. Actually, I remember winning a lot of managing director awards at the time and then being chastised for not following protocols. So I was not really good in that sort of corporate sector at all. But I really gained a great insight into exactly what I didn't want to do. And sometimes in life, you need to find those things. It's always finding that positive, yes, this is the direction I want to head, but sometimes it's good to say, no, that's not for me, I'm not going that way. And this was another one of those experiences. The lab coat and the corporate, so there were two things that sort of stopped me. Now onto a time that I can say evoked a real path for me. And I'll press the button. The Banksia Foundation. Banksia is a plant in Australia, and the organisation was formed by 66 individuals that really wanted to make a change. They wanted to recognise what was being achieved in sustainability, the positive. We are a positive organisation. We want to reinforce that, and we want to promote that around Australia and internationally. The Banksia is a plant that under adverse conditions thrives. So under bushfires, under anything else, it just comes back and it is regenerated. So that is the reason why the organisation took the name Banksia. So as I said, it's based on positiveness, looking at what's being done, collaborating, how do we promote, how do we get the message out, who can we talk to? How can we help these people that are doing these amazing things get to mainstream Australia? A lot of times in Australia you go to sustainability conferences and events and we keep on talking to the same people, we keep on congratulating the same people. We don't get out to the mainstream. We don't push the message out into the mainstream enough, and that's something that I'm desperately wanting to do. So, 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 still with Banksia and just absolutely loving every second of my life at this amazing organisation. Why? Because I found my real passion, my destiny, and this opened my imagination. And that was important, because sometimes you can work in an organisation, you go through the motion, but this organisation was able to help me realise that I had other talents rather than, the day-to-day things. And I would like to share some of the inspiration that has kept me so excited for the past 21 years. So I've been privileged to see over and over again through the Banksia Awards how we continue to see how human beings can inspire and bring to action humanity to ensure that we do get a systemic change through and for the human race. And I think that is really important. The Banksias have acknowledged over 500 exceptional individuals over its time. I say individuals, as each of these organisations and initiatives that has been awarded is clearly led by passionate and inspired people. The longevity of our award program goes to show that we need to acknowledge leadership and inspiration so that others can follow. And these are the covers of each year we do an ebook, which is on our website, and it's case studies of we have up to 65, 70 finalists every year. And their case studies are put in there. So if you want to go and have a look at what's happening in Australia, you can have a look at our ebook. In running a not-for-profit, it comes in handy being innovative and being able to reinvent what you do and how you do it. Maintaining this for over 2 decades has been quite challenging for me. We all have people that we need to answer to, that we need to keep on the so-called right side, that sort of group that, you just sort of need to report to continually and make sure that you're doing the right thing. But then how do you do that when you want to change the status quo, change the business as usual, and introduce that disruptive way of thinking that you have been working on for some time? I believe that great communications and making your stakeholders a part of the process is key. Ensuring that you don't just present an idea, but you present a whole solution, a whole strategy plan, actions with sensible timelines, and providing your stakeholders with a sense of excitement that they're a part of it, and that they belong to it, and giving them the ownership too, because people need ownership to be able to progress and go further. You need to see, I've just moved into a farm, and we've got a few sheds outside of Melbourne, and I have got 6 filing cabinets of marketing plans and strategies and everything just in there. So I've gone through a number of these processes that I've developed over my time at Banksia. But can I say that only a handful have seen the light of day? But that has not stopped me from continuing to see what my next big thing is. And I think that's important. Although something doesn't come off, you learn from that, you examine that, and you go on to your next big thing. Never be deterred by something not happening, because it is going to happen. And I can show you so many people that have used that over and over again. What I want you to take on board is that you can't be afraid of failure either. My failures, or as I like to call them, slight deviations from my goals, which is a nice way of looking at it, they've allowed me to check my old ego meter and realise that failure is sometimes the best teacher. I'm not encouraging you to seek out failure, but it's going to happen time and time and time and time again, and let's just face it, it's just part of life. Embrace it, learn from it. And you know that that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach will dissipate, but your head will be all the wiser for it. So just take it on board. And okay, as I mentioned, our platform is positivity. We've worked with a number of organisations and businesses in creating a number of various products and events under the sustainability umbrella. From creating environmental templates for our national sport, the Australian Football League, which is the real football, Aussie rules football. If you don't know it, you've got to see it. It's the best game on earth. From creating environmental templates for our national, as I said, for the football team, through to becoming the sustainability partner for Vivid Sydney, one of the world's largest light, music and ideas events. We work with our winners also to ensure that their message gets out to mainstream Australia. Not an easy task, as we know that media does not like good news stories, and it is so hard to get something in the media in this area. So we have to work with other events and organisations to make sure that we get the message out there. It's all about inspiring others to take notice of what is being achieved and how we can collectively work together towards a more sustainable future for all of us. One of the best things to come our way was the UN Sustainability Development Goals, which we've based our awards on since 2018. And this has created incredible interest across Australia. But I must admit, there is a real issue, and I was at the Ethical Corporate Transform 2019 conference in Amsterdam a few days ago earlier. And one of the issues that I was surprised with, that we were, at the United Nations, Australia was number 27 out of 29 or something in getting the SDGs recognised. Corporations are doing it, but we're not communicating it to the customers, to the public, to the people around us. And that's something that's a real shame, because I think the SDGs are really sexy. They are really something that we've been looking for. You know, they have targets, they have indicators. Even now, working with Monash University and Melbourne University, we're looking at indicators and targets that really make sense in Australia. And the marketability, I mean, I'm using now the Good Life Goals. I don't know if anybody's seen the Good Life Goals. They're an adaptation from the SDGs. This is something that every individual can do under every SDG, and we've been working with corporations to show how they can be done, and it relates to people. It's because the SDGs sometimes can be quite big and cumbersome and difficult, but the Good Life Goals, I recommend to everybody to have a look at that. So one of the best things, as I said, is the SDGs. So our latest program is also the Banksia Ignite platform, which allows us to be enabler and look forward to what is possible. I'm enabling at the moment a total waste to clean energy and reprocessing. It's about carbonisation, and we're just talking with the Indonesian government now on how we can process waste into valuable forms of water, urea, hydrogen, and it is something that is exciting me, because waste is one of the biggest issues that this world is going to face at the moment, or is facing, and it is going to put a value on waste, and I think until you value something, you're not going to do anything about it. So I'm very excited with this new technology that we are enabling. The other thing that we do is the Banksia Unite SDG Challenge, where we work with organisations and corporations to scope out challenges based on solving issues under the SDGs. This is then promoted either internally to educate staff on the organisation's actions towards its targets, and is used as an external engagement platform to attract innovators to work on these challenges. This has allowed organisations to promote their corporate responsibility around the SDGs and call on their customers that they need to connect with, and the general public to join them in their quest to solve these challenges. And it allows them to be transparent. It allows them to take their customers on the journey and showing them that they are looking at the issues of sustainability and how can they work with their customers to solve these problems. And I just find that incredible differentiation in marketing, and I think a lot of corporations just haven't picked that up yet. Not in Australia, and I've noticed that also all around Europe and America, and I think it's just the most obvious thing to do. Transurban was our first inaugural challenge, where we looked at the issue of carpooling. Australians hate each other. We don't like sitting in cars with each other and travelling. It's one car, one person all over. And you think with our small population that our roads would be free. No, they're absolutely chockers. They're, if you want to drive around Melbourne or Sydney, it's so hard to get anywhere. So that's one of the Transurban ones we did, and we've got some great finalists and winners out of that. Just one of the things, and sorry, I will go forward. Craig Rawcastle, one of our winners, and I just will go through here. We did the war. The UK did the war on waste and got very little out of it. Whereas Craig Rawcastle, he's a lawyer and now a comedian, created a program in Australia, and we have got a huge change in the waste approach. So what he did is he showed, he took a tram down Melbourne, filled it up with coffee cups, and showed how many coffee cups are going to landfill. In Sydney, he had 6,000 kilograms of clothing in Martin Place, and was showing people, again, how much clothing was going to landfill. Social media was a frenzy. It was the biggest impact that any show has had in Australia. Keep cups were sold out for 12 months. We couldn't buy Keep cups because the demand was so strong. The major supermarkets went plastic, got rid of their single-use plastic. Local councils went plastic free, and the amount of pressure that was going on to organisations because of this guy doing this TV show was enormous. So, as I said, the impact was fabulous. The other one, just quickly, is ghost nets, which retrieve the ghost nets from Northern Australia. Is another of our winners. They take them out. It's a huge issue in the oceans around Australia, and we take them out. They make them into the most beautiful artisan products, and now have developed a multi-million-dollar business out of it. But again, Interface have now doing the same thing and taking the ghost nets out and putting them into carpets. So
a lot of success stories.
Oh,
yeah.
The success stories are amazing. So, look, I just really want to just finish off on just one last thing, and I do apologise, and I will go on to purpose. I do believe that without individuality, a person cannot have a special mission in life and be distinguished as having special talents and virtues. One derives a sense of purpose from a special mission, an identified passion, or an experience that has touched you in some way. So to break it down, my personal way of going about getting purpose, and when I hit a roadblock especially, is to what gets me energised. The energised and being energised is just so important, and that excitement that you feel about a project or what you're doing is so key. What do I really care about? What am I doing now? And what do I want to be doing is so important. And what impact am I hoping to have around me? And once you answer these questions, you can bring people around you and do things. Sorry,
oh.
So I'll just, sorry, I'll go back.
That's okay. We can leave the quote. Is that okay during?
Yeah, so I do apologise. Yeah, so to me, again, that quote is that, the quote, purpose can never be fully realised. So this means that you never stop stimulating innovation, change and disruption. And that is a continual process. You can never stop that. And that always has to be in the back of your mind. Otherwise, you can just walk away and do nothing. Hopefully, as I said, I've given you a bit of I know I'm sorry, I'm sort of hurrying it up at the moment, but a little bit of insight to what's made me sort of where I am today. But I'm hoping and praying that I do get more energised, and there's so much more for me to do in the future. And I thank you all for your time.